Thank you for tuning in to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Whether you're listening during your commute, while working out, or just relaxing at home, we appreciate you. Every download, every listen, and every subscription means a lot. Up next, the 12 Kyle podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. Man, check this out. On this episode, what I want to talk about is FOPO. FOPO is a situation, more of a condition that a lot of people suffer from. And quite honestly, they don't know that they do. And you may be one of the people who suffer from it. And if you are, I guess you could say I'm here to help. Before I get started, I want to kind of give you a background. I came upon this topic and this idea after reading this article online about FOPO. Now, you may be wondering, what is FOPO? FOPO is an acronym that stands for Fear of People's Opinions. If you're human, you probably have an idea or you have thoughts about what others may or may not think about you. It could be something as simple as maybe what you wore to work or your new hairdo or whatever, or, maybe saying something crazy at a social gathering. But a lot of times the fear of someone's opinion can hold us back, particularly as we have moved into the social media era. According to the article, FOPO was a concept named by a psychologist by the name of Michael Gervais. He also authored the book, The First Rule of Mastery: Stop Worrying About What Other People Think of You. FOPO is a mechanism that we use, and it's preemptive. It's a preemptive process to increase our acceptance in the eyes of others, for us to avoid rejection, as he described it. I think it's a lot of different layers here, and I want to touch on a few in this episode. I think it's really easy to say, I don't care what people think. A lot of us say that. And quite honestly, a lot of us don't live that life. I mean, we are people who want to be genuinely accepted by others. Now, how far that line goes, it just really depends on the person. For me, I am someone who really doesn't care what a lot of people think outside of my circle. Now, my circle, I really want the people in my circle to be pleased with me and what I'm doing and happy with me and happy for me. But outside of that, I've really moved away from trying to gain acceptance from others. And even something as simple as this podcast, I genuinely want the people who listen to this podcast to like the podcast. There are several people that listen to this podcast every time there's an episode. And from what I can tell, because they keep coming back, they either like the podcast or they like me or both. And I'm cool with that. That being said, it's not something that I do for social acceptance. Like, I'm not in a position where I'm making topics to please people or to gain a certain traction with fans or to get certain numbers. I think I did that about 15 years ago when I had the now defunct 12 radio show, where I would do topics and have topics where I know that people would tune in and chime in. And not saying it wasn't authentic, because I think it was authentic, but I think there was a level of wanting to please people. And really, as I've gotten older, I'm very far removed from that stage of my life. Like, again, this podcast is a small example, but I'm satisfied with every episode. Because trust me, if I wasn't satisfied with the episode, you would never hear it. That being said, I'm not fearful of someone's opinion about this podcast or me, because obviously if you've listened, for a time or two, you get to know me through this podcast, even though many of you who listen have never met me before and probably won't ever meet me. But I'm not someone who looks for the acceptance, or at the very least is fearful of people's opinion of me. But I do recognize that what this psychologist is saying is very true. And it happens a lot in our society where it could be something as simple as a text message. You text someone that you're interested in, and maybe their response isn't the response that you expected. Maybe you were expecting a long response and they reply with, okay. There's a level of anxiety that kind of comes with that. Or it could be something as simple as you tell a story to a friend and you're looking to see at their face to see what kind of expression they give you back. And maybe it's not what it is that you would have expected. That's FOPO. And I think it's interesting as to how we've gotten here. I mentioned a little earlier, social media, I think, has a lot to do with FOPO. The rise of social media with things like Facebook and Instagram, between the likes, the friend requests, the follow requests. I know at one point in time on social media, Instagram in particular, it would really be about how many likes you got. And I remember one time talking to one of my kids, and they were saying, like, one of their friends, they created a post on IG, Instagram, right? And because the post didn't get as many likes as they wanted, they ended up deleting the post. And I'm like, well, why did they delete the post? Did they not want to promote whatever the post was about? And he was like, yeah, no, they didn't. He was like, they wanted to see how many likes they got. And when they didn't get 150 likes, it was only 17 likes. So they deleted the post. And I'm like, what does that matter? He was like, well, it was a picture of this particular person. I'm not going to use their name. But let's just say the person's name is JJ. So JJ puts this picture up of himself, and he obviously wants, the young ladies to like double tap, if you will. And he only gets 17 likes. And in his mind, that's a failure. So he ended up taking the picture down, deleting the picture from Instagram forever because of FOPO. The lack of likes meant that, at least to him, that people weren't feeling him. And so that's a part of how social media has, become a part of this conversation. One of the things that they talked about in this article is that there are three major aspects of FOPO. First is the anticipatory phase, where feelings and thoughts race through their minds as they get ready for a social situation. Let's say you're going to a party. It's a gathering of people. Sometimes, if FOPO sets in, you may be overly concerned about how you look. Is this dress too tight? Is this shirt too tight? Is the dress showing off too much cleavage? Can I show off even more cleavage? Can I make my skirt shorter so that my buns will be hanging out? All of those type of things. And that's something that someone who is having FOPO will go through, because in their mind, is it good enough? Am I good enough? And really, you got to know that you are good enough. But if you don't know, then really nobody can tell you otherwise. But the anticipation of attending that party, letting people see you, letting people talk to you, how you're perceived and how you're viewed at that party, FOPO really sets in. The second phase is checking when you're, when you're with someone, checking to see if the tone of their voice, their expressions, their body language, checking to see if they are okay with you, as opposed to you understanding the content of whatever they're saying or whatever their vibe is. I can see how, particularly like if you have a situation where there's a first date, you may or may not be worried about what they're necessarily saying, but you want to see what kind of vibe they're giving you. So you're in the midst of this date, instead of enjoying the date, you're kind of preoccupied, if you will, as to what it is that they're giving off or what you think you may be giving to them so that they can take it as a whole. And people get preoccupied with FOPO. And so in that first date, that person's opinion, who you really don't know that well, that person's opinion matters. And, FOPO really sets in. It's the fear of people's opinion. So at this point, you've talked to this guy on the phone for 2 weeks, and now you have a date with him, and you're preoccupied as to how you look or how he's perceiving how you look. And you're not even really understanding or feeling the conversation because you're checking to see if he is okay with who you are. You're in front of him, so he got to be okay with who you are because you're there, right? But that's FOPO. The anticipatory phase and the checking phase are really exhausting. They can be very tiring, and it's why fatigue can really set in for a lot of people. The article also talks about the third phase, known as the responding phase. If you're sensing that you may be rejected by people or a particular person, you kind of shift. Maybe you change things of what you're doing. Maybe if you're presenting at work, not a conversation. Let's say you're presenting a project at work in front of your colleagues, on a Zoom call, because after COVID, everybody was on Zoom calls, right? You're presenting at work on a Zoom call and you see the people in the boxes rolling their eyes, or their bodies shifting, or they're slumping in their chairs, or they look like they're falling asleep. That's FOPO. I mean, like, you're really being affected by their, or at least what you think their opinion is of you. That could be a weird look. It could be something that, maybe you try to make a joke and they don't find funny. It could be a lot of things. So FOPO is something that is very, very real, and it lives within people. It lives within relationships. It lives within communities. We're always interacting with people. So it's truly difficult not to care about what people think. But what's more important is what they think can't have an impact on you, particularly if you know who you are and you know what you're doing. Now, if you don't know who you are, then yeah, what people think of you may change everything about you, because you're going to be constantly trying to change yourself to appease people that you don't even care about, really. And people that probably don't care as much about you as you think that they do. So that's problematic in and of itself. But that's FOPO. I think one of the biggest things that I learned from the article was that, like, a lot of times we go above and beyond, and we really shouldn't, because it's not necessary. I mean, like, if you want to see some signs of people that are dealing with FOPO, here's some common examples. Checking your phone to appear that you're busy or yet you're important, in order to not be involved in this particular social setting. That's FOPO. Laughing at a joke that you really don't find funny. That's FOPO. Drinking at a party when you really don't even want to drink. That's FOPO. Dealing with ordering anxiety at a cafeteria just to make sure that you get the order right and you don't hold up the line. Because sometimes, people will get in a line and ordering food and, like, draw a blank, even though all the food that you can order is right up there on the screen or what have you. Staying at your job late just because your boss is still there. That's definitely FOPO. Lying about your age at work in an industry run by younger people. Definitely FOPO, because you're going to think, okay, well, why am I around all of these young people, and what do they think about me? Do they call me an old head? Do they value me? Do they disrespect me when I'm not around? Another example, pretending to see a movie that you haven't seen. Don't come to work asking your coworkers if they saw the latest Marvel movie and you know damn well that you didn't see it, and don't act like you saw it when you didn't. All of that people do with FOPO in the efforts not to look dumb. And in a lot of ways, you do look dumb because you're doing something and you're being something that you're really not. Rather than focusing on your true thoughts and your feelings, you're kind of catering around someone else and you're thinking about them thinking about you when they really aren't thinking about you, at least not the way that you think that they are. And then you're going outside of yourself. And at the end of the day, who wants to be outside of themselves? In conclusion, my advice for FOPO is worry about what the people that you care about think. And that's it. The reality is the people that you care about genuinely care about you. And so it's reciprocated. So those are the people that you should not have to put on any type of fronts for. You can genuinely be who you are, and they're going to love and respect you for who you are. Now, if you make it a habit of being someone else or trying to appease people, then you'll never really satisfy and settle into who you truly are. You know, if you want to worry about other people's opinions less, the first thing is having some type of awareness that all of this stuff is happening. Understanding what FOPO is and just making sure that you still continue to be who it is you are. If you struggle with FOPO, then you may have to look within and say, well, hey, what am I doing? Why am I like this? How can I change? We live in a performance-based society. I mean, let's just be real. People are constantly being judged about where they live, what they wear, who they're married to, or what political party they're affiliated with. Everyone wants to be a winner. The reality is that the opposing opinions don't matter, and they matter as much as you allow them to matter. Don't let FOPO change who you are. Be who you are because only you can be you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast. We drop new episodes every Thursday and every Sunday at midnight. We also can be found on social media. 12 Kyle podcast across the board. If you want to contribute to us financially, hit us up on Cash App, $TWELVEKYLE. Also, you can buy merch. We have merch. Look in the description box. There's a link that says merch. Click that link. You can buy 12 Kyle podcast t-shirts, hoodies, as well as coffee mugs. We got it for the low. You can also find us on YouTube. We have a YouTube page. Watch every episode of the 12 Kyle podcast on YouTube. And lastly, we have a new baby. It is called the Rap Soul Podcast. The Rap Soul Podcast is a podcast where we have discussions about music and artists from the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s when it comes to hip hop, rap, soul, and R&B. Simply put, folks, it's the best music podcast that you've never heard. So check that out. We drop new episodes every Monday and every Friday at midnight. Again, that's going to do it for me. I am your boy 12 Kyle. I'll catch you guys next time. 5,000. Cheers.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the 12 Kyle podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and share this podcast with a friend who needs the 12 Kyle podcast in their life. Every listen, every download, and every share helps us grow. Thanks for being a part of the 12 Kyle podcast community. We appreciate your support. We will catch you next time. 5,000.